I suppose I should start with the basics. My name is Taylor Sant. I'm English of Cameroonian descent, age 32, and I've been mining helium for the Hummingbird Corporation since I left college 16 years ago. My work is pretty exciting on one level. Lots of space travel, and the helium platforms are often in some truly epic locations. They're always positioned just within orbit of the chosen gas giant, and there are usually some incredible views. That's not to say they're all great, mind you. I did my apprenticeship on a platform over Jupiter, and between the dull brown clouds and the frequent ion storms, it was pretty shit. The work itself you'll probably find uninteresting, though. I'm in maintenance. It's my job to fix anything that breaks, basically. It can be dangerous, but with health and safety these days, that's rare. There were normally only ever 1 or 2 accidental deaths on mining platforms per year, and that's across the entire of human space. Anyway, now you know me. Here's the story of why I've given up on helium mining, and space altogether, really. I never planned to leave Earth again. But anyway, here it is. Here's the story of what happened over Brenton. I was pretty excited when I first heard that was where I was going to be transferred to. Brenton had only been discovered 2 years previously, and Hummingbird had immediately brought the property rights for the northwest quadrant and built 3 top-of-the-range platforms over it. That was great news. The latest model was a marvel of modern engineering, really. Comfortable, safe, and it looked awesome. Much better all around than the floating hunks of junk I'd nearly spent half my life on. The planet had a nice name, too. Benton is a Japanese goddess of fortune. The names don't normally mean much unless you're superstitious. I spent 6 months over one called Tartarus, and it was totally fine, but you still sort of feel more optimistic about the ones named after nice things. And actually, it was all pretty great. I'd been appointed maintenance chief, so I got a pay bump. The 24 other crew members were fine. The foreman, the big sick called Singh, was really a nice guy. The quarters were comfortable, and the view was incredible. I can still say without a doubt that the vista from the landing platform was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. The gases were beautiful pearlescent white, and when one of the other new arrivals said something about how it must be what heaven looks like, I was inclined to agree. I took a photo to show my wife. I've deleted it since. The new platform was absolutely fantastic. I was used to ones that broke down twice a day, but here I was only needed once or twice a week for anything major. I spent the rest of my time relaxing, an unexpected luxury, or repairing more minor things. One of the main problems on other platforms was the lack of working appliances. The maintenance teams had to spend so much time fixing the platform itself that they couldn't handle every broken dishwasher or entertainment terminal. The first couple of weeks, I was only saddened by the knowledge I'd eventually be transferred away. Then there was the first suicide. I was relaxing in my quarters when the machinery all stopped. Immediately, I was running for the control room because there are only 2 scenarios where all the extractors are switched off. A fatality, or the thing I was more worried about, catastrophic system failure. If the latter had happened, the whole platform was going down with all hands. There would be no time for repairs or escape. That had never happened before, but that didn't mean it couldn't. This is why I must confess to being slightly relieved when Singh told me that a man had fallen. Apparently, Haning, one of the miners I'd never really spoken to, had been heading along the gantry toward extractor 03 when he'd just fallen off. This felt fishy. The gantries all have railings on both sides, and are pretty bloody wide anyway. It was hard to imagine exactly what Hanning could have been doing to go over the side, unless of course it was intentional. Singh asked around, and apparently Hanning's wife had left him quite recently. The men still seemed pretty surprised though. He had a reputation of being pretty tough. Still, suicide seemed the most likely explanation. There was an air of sadness about the place for a while after that, as you'd expect, but it didn't last too long. There was one incident that spooked me a little in the days following Hanning's death. Me and Ken de Groot, this young Dutch lad on his apprenticeship, as I'd once been over Jupiter, were suspended in harnesses over the side of Extractor O2, unjamming a cooling fan. It's quite scary going out on the harnesses for the first few times. After all, you're dangling over an unimaginably huge drop. So Ken was pretty nervous. No need to be normally. It's really safe when you're somewhere calm, and you couldn't get more tranquil than Benton. I was just finishing up when suddenly there was this weird noise. It was like this huge, mournful wail, incredibly deep and faintly chilling. "What was that?" Ken whispered, before calming himself. "Just the machines or something. Sorry." "No," I said, looking down. "It came from beneath us." Ken looked at me, and then looked down as well. Suddenly, the seas of mist didn't seem so nice. We hurried the rest of our job, and quickly got out of there. After getting over the initial creepiness, Ken was pretty excited by the noise, and told anyone he could about it. Most told him he was being silly, and it was just machinery. A couple wondered, aloud, if there could be something down there. One reaction particularly surprised me, though. Me and Ken were fixing the coffee machine in one of the observation lounges, and we noticed a miner, Borach, had been standing at the window, looking out at the mist the entire time we'd been working. When we'd finished up, we went over and joined him, and Ken mentioned we once heard something in the clouds. Borach turned to him. "Yeah," he said. "There's something down there, man." "What do you mean?" I asked. "I can feel it sometimes. There's something down there. I think I caught a glimpse of it once." "What is it?" Ken asked. "How should I know? But it's down there. Down there." A week later, I was rebooting one of the control room computers. Some idiot had managed to infect it with a virus while on a seedier corner of the internet late one night. When I noticed Singh and some of the other control staff gathering around the main console. "Who's on station there?" Singh was asking as I sauntered over. "Jonah," one of the other staff replied. Singh jabbed the communications button. "Jonah? What's going on down there? Jonah!" "What's happening?" I asked Prager, Singh's right-hand man. He was right twat, but a good friend of mine. "Core temperature's rising on Extractor 01. Guy posted to the local coolant station isn't responding." "Who is it?" "Jonah something or other. I don't know him too well." "You want me to go take a look?" "Yeah, someone ought to." "Singh, Sant's gonna go take a look." Singh gave a vague thumbs up. "Shut everything off. See if Borach is all right." "Borach, that was it," said Prager. Jonah Borach. Weird guy. I didn't connect what was happening to the odd conversation Ken and I had had with Borach until after I'd hurried over and shut the extractor down and saw the open door. The coolant control rooms are about the size of a crane cockpit and dangle over the edge of the platform. They're designed with a door on either end so that when the platform's being constructed, you can put the gantry leading to it on either side. This means that, in most, one door leads onto the gantry, and the other leads to a 10,000-mile drop. It was the latter that was open. 2 suicides in such a short space of time was hugely unnerving, for obvious reasons, but at the same time, rationally explainable. No one knew much about Borach, and he could have been suffering depression. Maybe Haning's suicide just gave him the push he needed to take his own life. I'm sure I'd seen the idea of copycat suicide on a cop show or something, so that's what I told myself. It was what Singh went for too, and the men accepted it. What other reason was there? As a whole, the platform got over Borach's death much quicker. He wasn't as respected or liked as Haning's been. Singh had given Prager, Doc Bargus, the platform physician, and myself the instruction to watch out for any odd behavior. I didn't see any. That's the weirdest thing. There was one particular event, a week or so after Borach's death, that stuck in my mind. It was when I began to realize, to some degree, what was going on. Me and some of the other maintenance guys had a game of poker in one of the lower observation decks. Me, Ken de Groot, Vela Poruskin, and Eunice Menderes, all men I'd gotten to know very well during my time there. They were good people, skilled technicians, nice enough guys. We were enjoying ourselves. We were happy. And then Vela said, "You know, I saw something real weird when I was working on Extractor 01 the other day." "Really?" asked Ken. "What?" "I was in harness doing the usual thing, jammed fan, you know, and I fucking dropped my spanner. I hate it when that happens." We all nodded, sharing his feeling. It wasn't just the irritation of having lost a tool. Whenever you dropped anything, you couldn't help watching it fall. And that got you thinking about how high up you were. I'll admit, I've had panic attacks over that in the past. Most men in my profession have. Anyway, Valia's story. Anyway, so I'm watching it go down, he was saying. And then, he breathed. "What, man?" said Eunice. "Come on!" Something moved. In the clouds, I saw something moving down there. Me and Ken looked at each other. "What was it?" asked Eunice. "I don't fucking know, but it looked pretty big. Moved like it was alive. You think something could live down there?" "I guess something could, but you'd think they'd have picked it up when surveying the planet." "Yeah, you'd think. Maybe it was nothing." Neither me or Ken mentioned that Borach claimed to have seen something too. I can't speak for Ken, but personally, I just didn't want to spook Valia. He seemed to think it was exciting more than anything else. I am certain he was not thinking of killing himself anytime soon. And yet, the very next morning, he went out and, in full view of the control room, threw himself over the side. "So no one else has any bloody ideas," Singh shouted, pacing up and down in front of the platform's remaining crew. He seemed angry, but I think he was scared. I was. "He didn't seem depressed," I said. "He seemed the same as ever. I played poker with him last night." "Yeah," agreed Eunice. When we were going back to our quarters, he mentioned something about how he couldn't wait to go home. Why would he say that if he was going to, you know?" Ken tapped my shoulder. He was too nervous to speak up about it himself. "There is something else, boss," I said. It might be a stab in the dark, but..." "What?" "Before Borach killed himself, he mentioned to me and Ken that he thought he'd seen something in the clouds." "What do you mean?" asked Prager. "He thought he'd seen something moving down there." I remember, said Doc Bargus suddenly. He asked me if I thought something could be alive down there. And could something? In theory, yes, but it would have been picked up when they were surveying the planet. Right, said Singh. And what you're saying is Proskirkin and had seen something too? Yeah, said Eunice. He did. Right. Fuck. There was a silence. Okay, Singh continued. Has anyone else, seen anything? Very slowly, a man at the back raised his hand. I think I did. Okay, Nakao. Anyone else? No. Right. You can all go. Doc, Prager, Sant, and Nakao. I need to talk to you. We waited for everyone else to file out. I think some of them were lying, Doc Bargus said. Singh's face twitched. You can understand why, I told the physician. He grunted in agreement and turned to Nakao. Genjo, have you had any suicidal thoughts recently? No, Doc, I swear. How long ago did you see it, whatever it was? A couple days. I'm certain it was something, not just a trick of the light. I saw a solid form. And there was this noise. It was... I guess it was like whale song. Huh, I said. Me and Ken the Groot heard something like that a while ago. I think I heard it too, said Prager. I assumed it was the machinery. Well, said Bargus, I have no idea what we should do. I don't think we've got enough evidence for the company to accept there's any danger. I'm not fully sure I accept it myself. There was a pause. I guess we have to wait for something to happen. Doc Bargus placed Nakao on a suicide watch, which Nakao seemed thankful for. He definitely didn't want to die. The day after Singh addressed the crew, a miner jumped. It was Woods, one of the ones Bargus had thought were hiding, having seen anything. After Woods' death, 2 more miners approached Bargus and admitted to having lied the day before. 2 days after that, Singh disappeared. It took a while for anyone to notice, everyone simply assuming he was somewhere else on the platform. But after a quick scan on the platform, it was clear there was only now 20 living people on board, all of whom were crew. 4 crew members registered deceased, and 1 crew member unaccounted for. Foreman Singh. Okay, Prager said once I had arrived on the control room the next day. Bargus couldn't come home because he was still watching over the other 3 to have seen the thing below. I've contacted the company and they're going to send the people to investigate. Until then, we have to keep working. They were damn hard to convince. Also, I've been looking at Singh's logs. Here are the ones that stand out. He turned the monitor to me. Foreman's log, cycle 3E012, orbit 0003, Earth date 03/08/2368. 2 deaths in such a short space of time. Fuck, that'll look bad on my record. If they really were both suicides, though, I might just get away with it. Everyone's still slightly on edge. Told Bargus, Prager, Sant to keep eyes out for anyone else thinking of jumping. Thought I saw something while I was inspecting Extractor 01. Something in clouds. Probably trick of light. Looked pretty solid, though. Could something live down there? Fan jam on E02, sorted. 1 broken key on E01 coolant terminal keyboard, not yet replaced. That's when he saw it, Prager said. Here's the one from yesterday evening. Foreman's log, cycle 3E143, orbit 0003, Earth date 15/08/2368. No major incidents. Bargus says men on suicide watch are still normal. I feel fine. Company's still finally coming around. 4 suicides too many to not be suspicious. Science theory disputed. They say they would have picked up any life forms ages ago. I agree. Broken microwave in lounge O4. Sorted. It screams. Mariani dropped a screwdriver over the side. Accepts liability for costs. Seems normal, I said. Yeah, Prager replied. Except for that. He tapped the screen and I read the sentence he pointed at. It screams. Oh, I said. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. I don't think I want to. The next morning, I was doing my exercises in my quarters when Doc Bargus ran in a panic, his nose bloody. He'd gone into the med bay at about 5 a.m. to wake up his 3 wards. They were all on an early morning shift and found one of them missing. The other 2 men didn't realize he'd gone. Bargus was embarrassed when he told me this. He had cameras on their room and should have noticed one of them get up in the night and go outside. But he hadn't. Dahan had killed himself. He was still talking to the other 2 when something seemed to come over him. Before he knew what was happening, they made a break for the exit. Nikau managed to make it and went over the side as well. Bargus grabbed the other, Vilmos, who had managed to punch him in the nose, but was held down by the other 2 miners who'd heard the commotion and sedated. As soon as he'd been restrained, Bargus had run to wake Prager and myself. This was it, a chance to find out what was really going on. Prager had called the company again, and they'd agreed that 7 suicides probably meant there was some external factor causing them, and that the platform would be temporarily shut down. The shuttle to evacuate the remaining men would arrive that evening. In the meantime, we were going to talk to Vilmos. He was frantically struggling against his restraints when I got there. It was quite terrifying. He was clearly insane. I don't think anyone in their right mind could show such ferocity. We tried asking him stuff, one of the 2 miners with him said. He won't say anything. Bargus sedated him again, and the struggling stopped. Vilmos, said Prager. What's going on? Vilmos didn't respond. Why do you want to kill yourself? Vilmos opened his mouth. I don't. What? What do you mean? He didn't respond. Prager shook his head. Do you know who you are? Asked Bargus. Yes. What's your name? Rajmund Vilmos. Where are we? Benton, we call it. What do you mean, we call it? Benton is not its name. What is its name? It hasn't got one. Okay. Bargus looked at me. Apparently it was my turn to try and get some sense out of him. All right, Vilmos, I said. In his log, right before he jumped, Singh said something about it screaming. What? It does, shouted Vilmos, interrupting me. It screams. What screams? He looked at me, but did not answer. What does it scream about? He didn't answer. Why do you want to kill yourself? I told you, I don't. Well, how come you want to jump over the side, then? Vilmos sighed. How come you don't? That was it. He stopped speaking altogether after that. I don't know what happened to him. They put him in a separate compartment on the shuttle, and when Prager last emailed me, he said he couldn't find any information on a Rajmund Vilmos anywhere after that day. As the shuttle pulled away, I breathed a sigh of relief and looked at the disappearing form of the platform. Without thinking, I looked down at the clouds. There was something moving down there. I still don't know what happened on Benton. Prager emails me a lot. Him, Doc Bargus, Ken DeGroot, and one or two more of the surviving miners are still trying to find out what happened there, but getting nowhere. Apparently, every other platform on the planet was shut down about a year later, and Benton was declared a no-fly zone. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. But that's why I'm never going to space again. There are too many unknowns. Some people like that. I once did, back in the days when they were constantly discovering these new, incredible things. I remember the pictures of planets made out of diamond, planets with seas of liquid metal, and other astonishing, unbelievable things. There was a real beauty to the universe, and that's what people think of nowadays when they think of space travel. But there are other things, the things that can't be explained. There's reportedly a system on the outer edge of Chinese space where no ship has ever returned from. There's a planet in Orion's belt where the colony had to be abandoned after consistent reports of whispering in the night and poltergeist-like occurrences. And then there's a planet named Benton, where 7 men jumped to their deaths after seeing something in the clouds. These things terrify me more than you can imagine.